headphones.
Well, thank you all for tuning in today. This is JJ Thompson. I'm here at KOEK 102.5. As always, on Saturdays, this is Our Thoughts on the Matter. Joining me today, we have local author and activist Jonathan Martin.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone listening.
We have Miss Norma Farrell, a longtime resident of Jonesboro, Arkansas.
Hello.
And joining us today, thank you very much, Chief Rick Elliott, coming out today and joining us to talk about a really important issue. So thank you so much.
And good morning. Glad to be here.
So our topic for today, obviously one that's in the national news, one that the news talked, just right before we came in, was talking about is policing, racial tensions, to policing, new policing strategies, and starting to try to de-escalate tensions between police and the public. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So, first off, just again, thank you for being here, because I know this is probably an interesting time to be in law enforcement and to comment on these matters. I know a lot of pressure is on you individually.
Well, absolutely. It is an interesting time. And this problem has been ongoing for many years. Yes. And it's not a new problem. And law enforcement agencies across the country have recognized this problem in years past. Some have made measures to make things better, try to improve it, and some have not. And I think those that have reached out and made their community more aware, more educated about policing and things that's going on, then when things bad do happen, the community is not as much in an uproar. Mm-hmm. As opposed to communities that, where the relationship between law enforcement and minorities is strained, then things go bad. There's extra tension that's going on. So, I learned a long time ago in law enforcement, the more you reach out to the community and work with the community, then the better off you are. One, when it comes to solving crimes, we depend on the community to give us feedback, give us information to help us solve crime. So when you reach out to your community and you empower your community to help you, to help enforce the laws and do things that we do, it just makes life a lot easier for everybody involved. Yeah. And that's why I think we have a good clearance rate on our crimes, because our community does what we're doing. They do work well with us. And so I think we're very blessed here, as opposed to some other places across the country. But I do believe in a community-oriented policing philosophy, but reaching out to the community and working with the community and educating the community. That's kind of one of the programs I started, the Citizen Police Academy. It's an education process because people don't understand what law enforcement's about, what law enforcement officers actually do day in and day out. And this gives a group of citizens a chance to come in and spend time with these officers and learn policing and learn policy, procedure, learn state laws, and understand the shoes that we walk in on a daily basis. And at the same time, we're learning from people that we're talking to in this class.
The actual community.
We're getting feedback. What's the community perception about policing?
Yes.
So you have to take that and then work on it, because there are people out there going, well, all are bad.
Yeah.
And that's not a fair statement. Yeah, there's some bad officers, but there's anybody in a walk of life, no matter what business profession you do, all the way down to preachers, lawyers, doctors, whatever, there's someone bad.
Yeah.
There are people people that make mistakes, you have people that don't do what they're supposed to do, and they've got to be dealt with. And that's what people understand is, if we do something that's not appropriate, then we're going to deal with it. And, if we do have a situation that maybe deadly force involved, then, we're going to deal with it. And we're going to have, we bring in the state police, like on officer-involved shootings. My protocol is we'll bring state police and a third party come in and do investigation.
That's excellent.
So,
and I know currently the department is pushing that if you do have a claim against the department, you're open and welcome to come in and file that.
Oh, absolutely. anytime.
And it will be
Anytime, yeah, that's right. Anytime.
Is that a practice of bringing in a third party to investigate? Is that something that other departments do, or is that something that isn't standardized and required?
It's not mandatory.
Okay.
But it is a good practice because it cuts down any question about anything that's going on. You bring in a third party, and you have that third party review they're not tied to the party. So
It takes it out of the people.
That's right.
Yeah, out of the public.
And that is the way my practice would be from this point on. And like I said, if we have an officer involved in an incident that's something of critical nature, then we'll bring in third party. Now, there may be some other allegations that come in that doesn't involve a shooting or something like that. If it's serious enough that I may bring state police in also. So the options are open. But back to yes, if anybody has a complaint about an officer, we have a complaint department. Captain B.J. Smith, he's our internal affairs administration division captain. He handles the complaints. They come in, we look at it, and if action is to be taken, then we'll take it. I have no problem with disciplining somebody that has violated a policy, procedure, or just done anything inappropriate.
Sure. Just on the topic of the most recent video that's being shown in the media a lot with Charles Kinsey. I'm not sure if you've seen the video. The man is a social care worker working with one of his autistic clients who's sitting in the middle of the road. He's trying to work with this client who's holding a toy car. A police officer shows up and ends up actually shooting the social worker. He's alive still in the hospital, but he was aiming for the autistic man. And it's one of those situations where as a chief, what is that? So I said that it happened in Jonesboro. What's that like when something like that happens in the department? What's the protocol? Immediately we would launch some kind of an investigation?
Oh, absolutely. Something like that, then we're going to call state police in and conduct an investigation of what's going on in that situation.
What do you have to say to citizens who have the fear of what do I do now in these situations? Because in the current culture of policing in America, if an officer fears for his life, he has a right to use lethal force. And if a civilian fears for their life, it's like you have to comply and just hope for the best, as in that situation with the therapist.
Well, that is an excellent point. And my question back to everyone is, why are you fearing the police in general? Why is there a fear across this nation of police? Just incidents of law enforcement using deadly force against people in the country, black, white, whatever. Yeah. But what is going on every time an officer uses some kind of force? Now tell me the rest of the story. Why does that encounter end up in a deadly force situation? It's not just because you got pulled over for a traffic stop and didn't want to sign a ticket and you got shot. That's not the case. Yes. It's real basic and simple. If you have an encounter with an officer, you can stop. The basic rules what you should do. If you don't, know that, then we can educate the public more better. But the bottom line is, if you get stopped, real simple. When the officer's approaching, just have your hands where they can see them. Because people start fidgeting, digging, and things. A lot of times they're hiding guns, drugs, things like that. That makes the officers put on edge. Yeah. So keep your hands where you can see them. They're going to ask for your driver's license, registration, proof of address. You handle that information, they're going to go back and give you a ticket, or give you a warning, or come back and maybe just give you a verbal counseling and send you on your way. There's nothing, if you follow that protocol, your chances of any kind of violent encounter with an officer are down to 0. Yeah. Now, the problem is when people think that they want to start arguing and then become physical, your chances of getting hurt go
dramatically increase from that.
Because the officer has on his belt a variety of tools that he can use to affect the rest of an individual. Yes. He has a baton, he has a taser, in last resort, he has a weapon. Okay. So, you have no legal right to resist arrest. Period. Okay. Some people think that they have a right that if they disagree with that officer when it comes time, if they're being placed under arrest, they have a right to disagree, and they have a right to be bad.
There's a badly quoted, Supreme Court case about that. People try to complain that it's badly mischaracterized and misquoted.
That's right. So you don't have that right to refuse or whatever.
You're supposed to go to court.
That's right. And we have a real simple philosophy here. Comply, then comply. Okay? Comply with the stop. If you don't like the way things took place, and if you disagree with the fact that what you got arrested for, then go to court. You have a court date, or if you don't court, then we have a way to file a complaint. If everybody followed that simple protocol, the chance of the encounter going bad is zero.
Okay.
Zero. Now you look at all these involved shootings across the country. You go back and you got to look at the whole story, not just what the media puts out there, but look at the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey used to say. Mm-hmm. Now, what's the rest of the story? Tell me the whole incident before we talk about it. What was going on prior to the incident? Why did it end up into an officer-involved shooting? Mm-hmm. Well, majority of the time, it ended up in some kind of physical altercation.
Yes.
And once the officer starts getting assaulted, that's things greatly.
And assaulting the officer is simply just touching in any...
Well, it's not just simply touching. When an officer says you're under arrest and you start resisting, okay, then you've now amped things up. By the color of law, if I tell you that you're under arrest for whatever, then
you have to say what I'm under arrest for.
You're bound to comply. Yeah, you're being arrested for whatever. Now, whether you agree or disagree, it's a matter to be settled in court, not on the street.
No, that is an important distinction, though, because we were talking earlier, and this is the personal degree inside of me, but when we're talking about chances going down to zero, you know what I mean? I think it's more fair to say that you're much less likely chances go down to maybe less than 1%. But
why would there be any encounter if you follow basic common sense rules on encounter? Why would it be 1%?
This raises the question of open carry, which was and I think the best issue to talk about here is Philando Castile. Someone who was complying with legal demands from officers, who was complying actually with the request to reach for insurance, and who had made them aware that he was a legal gun owner, that he was carrying a firearm. And so those are the situations where, again, all the details aren't out yet, but it makes me feel like there are certain situations where officers could be primed to, I guess, to jump to conclusions about the intents of certain individuals, and that could lead to an altercation as well, which is human nature. This is nothing to say that police officers should be held to a different standard than anyone else. I mean, okay, we live in a country where defense attorneys and judges get in fistfights in court, and happened in Florida a couple of years ago. I mean, so to say that police officers uniquely should be the one group of people that have to have perfect impulse control is obviously unfair, but I do think it admits of certain exceptions. I think you're 100% right. I always, when I get pulled over, I'm super polite. I try to take into consideration, what the officer's saying. Like, that's the same way I am when I go through a drive-through. You know what I mean? All people deserve to be treated with respect when they're at their place of work. That's certainly true. So I agree with you 100%. I just worry that, like you said, there may be certain bad apple officers that are out there, maybe not even with bad intentions.
It's not a bad apple officer. It's a lot of times it's a lack of training.
Yes, exactly.
How often do we focus on the escalation tactics within the department?
That's interesting.
That is always an ongoing process. Handle hundreds and thousands of incidents yearly.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just back up on traffic stops. Let me throw you a number out there. So far this year, we have conducted over 12,000 traffic stops.
Wow.
Okay. 75% of those stops didn't result in a ticket. 75%. So we're not out here just stopping cars to generate money. We're stopping people to make make them be compliant with the laws.
Sure.
They're violating the laws. So you get 12,000 stops and you get a handful of complaints. And those complaints are, well, the officer was rude, or the officer seemed to be in a bad mood, or whatever. Well, they didn't treat anybody bad. You know, they may not have been in the best mood, but it happens because you don't know what they were on prior to. But you figure out at 12,000 stops and you get less than a handful of complaints, then we're doing things right.
When you talk about, we were talking about the stops and people in general. Now, if we were all black in here and we were having this conversation, which I have daily with people that are talking about police, I tell you, the academy, the police citizens academy course was great, and I learned a lot, and I think they learned a lot from me. But most black, I won't say most, but if you had 10 of us in here and 8 of us were black, their experiences with police have not been nice.
Yeah.
So that's why their behavior and the way they say, oh, because of police, they automatically think that something bad is going to happen.
What was their experience?
I'm just
Based that on what?
Can I tell you a personal experience? I got off work one night. I worked overnight at Nestle. I was going home. It was 3:30. I lived in the Heights, north side of Jonesboro. When I went home, an officer followed me from Johnson to the Heights. He stopped me when I pulled in my driveway, hit the lights. He asked for my license and registration. I complied. I reached for my license and registration. At that time, he yells no sudden movements and draws his firearm and asks me to walk towards the car and put my hands on the hood, which I do. You know, I go through. He runs my information. He lets me go, no ticket. But you know, nothing happened. I'm still alive today. But those type of encounters do happen, and it does shape your perception of police. It does cause you to have a certain type of fear, or just, you know, so you just want to survive your encounters. Like a lot of times, it's just trying to keep encounters as short as possible, and you know, be polite and not right out.
I think that's a good point. That we'll return to right after the sponsor break. Is trying to better understand the experience of a police officer from the point of view of a citizen, and better understand the point of view of the citizen who's had negative encounters with the police from the point of view of a police chief. So we'll be back in just a second with our thoughts on the matter.
Yeah, I got another here.
You get the post right.
That's
Yeah, you hear music.
Kappa for mute, right?
Yeah, and you have to remember, if you hear music, if you don't hear music when you turn the mic's not off. Because remember, when you turn these on, the speakers go mute.
Jen is here in spirit with us, even though she didn't get to come.
Where is she?
She's busy.
She busy, okay.
Where's always?
She's busy.
What is she doing the page?
Well, she got the top.
Oh, good.
She decided
Well,
picture.
Debbie Turner, you know, told her that you need to compete again, that you could actually win this.
Okay.
You know, hopefully
She had from one of the best, Steve. Or winner.
That means sales.
The best part of the Spanish Minute is you. Like, it's the best part is you doing the Spanish.
Well, because as you see, I'm pretty horrible at it.
What makes it good? Well, I'm not good
Well,
at
so,
that.
you need to learn that you might be vice president one day. That's a plus.
Oh,
What is
talking about Senator Kane.
Answer or get to bring up all y'all questions.
Well, actually,
So just keep watching and
How many minutes till we get out of here?
And all I have to do is just sit
Turn those off, and then just close that software, turn the monitor
go
down,
to that Facebook page.
You ever hear about the radio
and
station?
just lock the doors.
But
You have to get that number after them to call. I told.
I know I forgot what it was. So
277-1080.
I told a couple people to call.
If you're gonna call up here, check the Facebook comments.
What is it?
7710.
870.
Check the Facebook feed, see if you already got any comments.
877 what? 277 what?
I mean, like they got it.
1080. I called it. I was there for a while. I got it in my phone.
Our motto is, we never say no. 870-203.
When we go to hell, how long is it gonna be in there?
All day. We'll be
I
getting,
mean, what time?
man, we'll probably get back at the end around about 10 o'clock tonight, so probably about 12, 1 o'clock.
You are gonna be early.
Well, you can sleep on the drive back.
Our guests are inclusive and increasing unity and Community Relations. Wednesday, our guest is Deputy Pizzo of NARAN. Thursday, our guests are the Arkansas Sonic Boom Track Club. Friday, our guest is K-Night of the Downtown Jonesboro Association. It's a community station every Monday through Friday at 9 o'clock a.m. Meet with Nancy Hill and Kalila Hardy on KLEK 102.5 FM and streaming live at klekfm.org on the KLEK app and at KLEK on Facebook and YouTube.
My name is Anaya Anderson, Janet Family and Cosmetic Dental Care, 2704 East Nettleton Avenue is a proud KLEK reporter. Dr. John Shannon and Dr. Jody Shannon both offer a wide variety of dental services to keep the
Got one more
entire
after
family
this.
smiling.
One more after this.
Teeth white,
Commercial.
dentistry, braces, dentures, and more.
So which time?
Are accepted. More information
Do what?
is shared
Which time is supposed to look?
on Facebook and
Time, he said.
There's 2 seconds left this one, and then now it's gonna go to this last one right here, Fullness of Joy Ministries. And then we've got our long talk bed.
This was gonna be a doctor call at the churches. He said you want me to do that. This be a thing to do.
Yeah, Pastor Rogers and I talked,
You're talking about
I was on vacation 2 weeks for past 2 weeks.
3, 2, 1.
But we're gonna get
And
together
now,
hopefully
back
this
to
week.
our thoughts on on KLEK 102.5 FM.
All right, welcome back to Our Thoughts on the Matter. We're here with Jonathan Martin and Norma Farrell and Chief Rick Elliott. This is JJ Thompson, as always, here. We're talking about policing today, and before we talk about sponsors, we're actually talking about the experiential factor of what the difference in experience might be for individuals with the police and why people might have negative connotations associated with the police. And real quick before we let Chief Elliott get back to answering that, so whenever you were talking about, we've had 12,000, is that JPD, is that 12,000?
That's right.
So when I hear that initially, I think to myself, okay, 75% of these are just stops, nothing happens, not even a ticket, you know what I mean? But that's probably going to be around 20,000 stops by the end of the year if it continues the same rate. And I think about how much time, or how many times a year that people get to interact with police officers in a totally normal setting, just like we met the other night at the community forum at the park. How many times a year do people get to interact with police officers in that setting versus how many times that people's interactions with police officers are, on my way home from work or on my way to work, sure. And now I'm in a high stress situation where I'm some people, again, it varies, where, Jonathan might fear for his physical safety, where he's, I fear for the imposition of my time, you know what I mean? Right. Or on Monday I'm going to have to pay for a ticket. But either way, JPD is going to probably statistically interact 20,000 times with local citizens this year in a way that in some shape or form could, shape their perception negatively. So I think, police departments pushing to have at least those many positive interactions. Does that make sense? Police officers walking around that know the people in the community, that, hey, you're back from school, blah, 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 can talk to people, can interact with people.
Well, that's right. And we are out there in the community. We have SROs in the schools, and they're establishing relationship with these kids at an early age. So that's an important process. There are community events throughout the year that officers are at, and we encourage the community to come out and participate in. Coming up in the month of August, the city will be hosting ward meetings. Mm-hmm. The councilmen have their ward meetings in various parts of the city. And that's ought to be a great time for people to come out, community. One, ask your city councilman about things that's going on in the city. I will be there, and we can ask the same questions.
Absolutely.
But getting the officers out in the community, but more important, when they're out patrolling, they have daily encounters with people that's not law enforcement related. And that's what we encourage with officers. It goes back to the community-oriented policing philosophy is when you're out patrolling, roll the window down,
Speak
to them, say hey. And, when kids are kind of looking at them going, they're talking to us, we're like, yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Well, make that become the norm.
That's the norm. That's right. And right after I took over, the first thing I did, we had a deal called Unity in the Community up at Parker Park. We purchased hot dogs and hamburgers and stuff, and we had the kids, everybody together at Parker Park, and had a big interaction with the community up there, and had some officers play basketball with kids. Kids thought this was great. It's like, oh, they're talking to us, they're interacting with us. This is what we do. We're here to protect and serve you on a daily basis. We're here to work together. It's not us against them. It's our community. And when we work together, we have a great community. That is my goal, is to make this community, to educate this community and make it a better place than what it has been. And I think we're going to get there. It's not going to be a fast process, but we are committed to keep on reaching out to the community and building bridges with the community and putting down some of these concerns or fears that people may have about policing. And again, it's a lot of it is due to lack of education. And the more you sit down and you talk and understand what's going on, you'll have to, hopefully we can change some perceptions. And it goes both ways. I mean, we work on our people about the way they do things and handle things and talk to people, and because we want them to have, we want to leave people with a positive experience.
Yes.
No, we don't walk away, somebody walk away with a bad taste in their mouth. You may get stopped, you may get a ticket, but when you drive off, you say, well, I got a ticket, but the officer wasn't rude to me or anything like that.
Sure.
Yeah, you broke the law.
That's right. I mean, if you messed up, you messed up. And again, we're not here to buy tickets. We're compliant with the law. And you have as much traffic as we have in Jonesboro, we have a lot of wrecks. We run 233 wrecks in this town a month.
Wow.
So we need people to, just slow down, obey the traffic laws.
Stop texting and driving.
This is a message.
For God's sake, please stop texting and driving.
Drive better in Jonesboro, everyone.
And then you won't have that encounter with a police officer. Two, it's going to make the roads a lot safer for everybody involved. And our goal is to cut down on accidents. And a lot of times in Jonesboro we have some bad accidents. We have some fatality accidents because of people just not paying attention. So again, it goes back to education. And we have to get out and we have to enforce the law. We have to make stops because we have to educate the public, and this is part of our function, day in and day out.
Once you turn the bad into the good, myself, everybody, you see a difference in the way the public perceives the police and the way the police perceive the public. If all your experiences, and most of them have been bad, you're going to think police are bad. If you've had some good ones and most of them are good, you're going to think they're good. Just like eating popsicles. It tastes good to you, it don't, it don't. And you can't change it. Until we change our mindset is. Every kid used to be, when I was going to school, you'd see a picture, I want to go up and I want to be a police, or I want to be a firefighter. You don't hear people say that. Well, I don't have little kids anymore either. But you don't hear a lot of kids going around saying, oh, they were wearing little hats or the badges, and say, this is what I want to do. I'll tell you an experience of myself. I have a 20-year-old grandson. His dad is a police officer, has been one for over 40 years in the state of Delaware. And I've told this story, you've heard it too. About 3 or 4 months ago, he was getting ready to go outside. We had waited before I got there, I go. But when he said, I said, and this is what I told him. He was coming inside, he came in, and by this time the police had pulled up. He was in the car with 3 or 4 guys, and they had stopped another car. Not the car he was in. So when he got ready to leave out, I said, now, the police, I said, are out there. I didn't know which car, what they was doing, or who stopped what. And immediately, he just stopped in his tracks. And I said, and you had done it, you're not doing anything. But why would a kid even think, because you see a police car, or you see a police, that something's wrong, that I've done something wrong, or they're looking for me, or just the reaction. And I said, not only him, I said, even with my own husband. I said, well, so and so and so, but there they go, the police. And you shouldn't want to have a person to think or say that. When I see them, I don't say it, but I'm a female and I'm black. They're males and they're black. So they probably feel and think totally different than what I do. It's a reason why. It's a reason behind it.
You know, a lot of it goes back to the way a child's brought up, and what breaks my heart when officers come in, you get a child misbehaving, and there's an officer in uniform present. First thing they say is, if you don't straighten up, I'm going to policeman put you in jail.
So
Yeah.
internalizes young.
And you have damaged that child about policing from that age
From
on.
day one, yeah.
And then they don't want to be the police. They have a fear of the police because mama's going to have that policeman throw me in jail because I'm acting up here in the store.
But this guy, my grandson's father is the police.
Yeah.
So why would you, I mean, your dad's one. You see guns and badges and uniform. So why think that?
That I remember having with the police, and I don't ever remember my parents even telling me anything about the police arresting me, but I remember my mom getting in a car accident when I was 4 or 5, and it was cold outside, and the policeman let us sit in his car. And I thought I was going to jail because I was sitting in the car. And it's one of those things that I think it's, you know, this isn't something that you is the fault of policemen. This is the fault of individual sheriffs or police chiefs. I think, again, it's an overall structural issue that maybe just has to do with the difference in the police philosophy at the legislative side, that we're actually passing policy, we're directing funding. Again, you know, up until 2014, the federal grants program incentivized police departments to make as many drug arrests as they possibly could. And again, you know, drug arrests. This is something we're talking about where people are either addicted to a substance, which, you know, treatment is probably a far better option than jail, or B, they're adapting some kind of strategy to survive in an economic system that has left them behind in some way. You know, they could make a lot more money selling weed than they can working 45 hours a week at Taco Bell. And so I think that there are certain things like that we have this strategy, again, not because of individual policemen, not because of sheriffs, not because of police chiefs. They're not the ones passing the laws. They're not the ones allocating federal funds. It's because of federal, you know, you go to Europe where police are brightly colored, where police are there, it's that, you know, hey, we're here to help, you know, we're here to, as opposed to when I get pulled over in Hardy by like an all-black Charger that I know had to have been impounded from, you know, some cool drug dealer or something like that. But it's just one of those things that, you know, hidden police cars, you know, SWAT deployments. I'm not sure if Jonesboro's, I mean, does Jonesboro have an MCAT or anything like that?
No.
So, and that's one of those things, you know, small towns, you know, Keene, New Hampshire, that, you know, that applied for a Bearcat, and it's just one of those.
I'm not opposed to applying for one or having one. Don't get the connotation that just because you have one is a bad thing, because we get in situations that you'll need it. Like the incident in ASU.
That's what I was
The sheriff's office had the MRAP that brought out there, and that gave the officers a chance to get up on the individual and negotiate with him and end that in a peaceful resolution. As opposed to, you know, if you can't get up to him close enough to do that, then the alternative may have been far worse for that individual involved. So, just because you have an armored vehicle, that's not a bad thing. There are those tactical situations, and you get, especially active shooter situations going on, that we have to be able to move in and
protect the officers. And that man also had
that's what that vehicle pays off. So, you know, I'm not opposed to an MRAP and you know, so.
And that goes back to.
That's a bad thing.
That goes back to my overarching point, I think, which is just that there are a lot of issues that are being pushed off on police right now. That individual also had an explosive, didn't he? I think
he had a propane tank.
He had a large propane tank that he was threatening that, you know, to blow. So, you know, you got a situation there that you know, was contained, you know, had to be contained, and you know, and you give the individual a chance to do the thing and surrender, or you know, the other consequences could happen.
Absolutely. No, go ahead.
I'm just saying, loss of life is always the intended goal in any interaction, and anything that you can have minimalize casualties in that situation. That was a perfect situation. No students were harmed. Even the shooter was, taking it with that.
And that's, law enforcement's not out just to shoot people.
No.
We're going to give everybody the opportunity to do what needs to be done and have a peaceful resolution, but sometimes these things escalate quickly, and you end up in a deadly force type situation, which is unfortunate. But you know what? It does happen, and it's continuing to happen across this country because look at everything that's going on. You got people with mental problems that we'll probably get into here in a little bit, but people get on drugs, and then you have people that are just totally radicalized about one thing or another, and so when you're dealing with the people, you always hope for a good and peaceful encounter, but there are those people out there that want to bring harm to the public and bring harm to officers, and they'll have to be dealt with.
I view our nation as a whole right now as it's total confusion, and many people kind of subscribe to the idea that we're in a crisis, so people are panicked and they're afraid, and they start taking up sides. And when people take up sides, they don't talk. And when you start communication, each side gets polarized, and it's the xenophobia, and it's crazy because we're living in a world that's extremely the most connected we've ever been, but we talk or communicate the least in a lot of ways. That's why this conversation is so important.
It's sitting down, it's talking, and addressing concerns, and you don't do it standing in the middle of the street yelling at each other.
Get nothing done.
You can stand there with a sign and understand, get protesting, but if you want to resolve something, then we'll set a table. We're not going to do it yelling at each other across the street. But it's like what we're doing right now. You're exactly right, Jonathan. People have concerns, and more we can bring people to the table and address the concerns, and then everybody feel a little bit better about what's going on. Now, I can't fix the problem for law enforcement across the country, obviously, and things that go on across the country affect what we do here in Jonesboro.
Yes.
Good, bad, whatever happens, and anywhere in the country, it can have an effect on what we do on a daily basis in Jonesboro. So I have to be aware of what's going on and reassure the citizens of Jonesboro that, hey, we understand, we're addressing, and we're always trying to do the right thing. And that's our goal. We always want to do the right thing and be right in what we're doing.
Yeah.
And this is a great forum and things like this to get the word out there and bring people like Miss Norman in and get a session, because as she said, she sits down with a group of people, her friends and family, and this is their perception about police in general. That's kind of concerning. It's like,
it's discouraging.
It is. It's like, okay, why is it now? What can I do to change this perception?
And that's
and I'm hoping after she completed our Citizen Academy, she can go back and she can say from experiences that no, it's not quite like that.
Yes.
And so I look at her and the other 90 graduates as ambassadors for policing to help educate the public on things, because they know from sitting in class and learning, why we do this, why, the reasons of why things well.
And you try to tell people that since my experience, it was a wonderful experience. I'm glad that I took it, and I try to everyone that's listening to join up and take it, because you'll learn about yourself, you'll learn how to protect yourself, and you'll learn some things that you can use as well as with the police, some of the things that they say to you and how you go about it for whatever reasons. But I have still talked to people, and I still do every day, talk about it, and I don't want them to think that I'm trying to be a police. No, I'm not. I'm just trying to learn about what they do, how they do it, and how I can help my community and protect myself as well as the police doing their job. I was in the car the other day, and I was going somewhere, and the girl said, well, she said, those police, she said, all they do is drink coffee. I didn't want to go there with her about them going and drinking coffee, because they might have been,
they're tired.
They might be on their breaking coffee. You know, it's a serious thing sometimes when you have a big, they had walked in your shoes.
Yeah.
So, and I don't want them to think, well, you're on their side. I'm not on nobody's, I'm on the side for right. But you try to, and like I said, you need to do it for you, see it for yourself, and do it for yourself, and I think you're a lot better about what the police do. I do.
Well, you know, we're in a time in this country that, you know, we need to quit stereotyping people. Whether it's a race or whether it's a profession or whatever, you need to base your convictions on a person based on that person's heart.
Absolutely.
What's inside that person's heart.
Whether they're
not because they're wearing a badge or a gun or what profession they're doing or what race they are. You know, you base what you feel about that person based on what's inside their heart. And right now, there's a lot of people in this country that have got hate in their heart, and that's not a good thing. And again, a lot of it goes back to where this country is going and what's being done, not being done. And, you know, I put a lot of it back into, you know, if we just pick up the Bible every now and then and read it and understand it, you know, the country would be a lot better place. You know, you can even go to the section of the Bible, go to Romans and 1 through 14, and they talk about law enforcement knows that drought take the law. That's God's will. That, you know, God has brought these people, brings, you know, law enforcement together to serve and protect. And that's God's will that we have these people out here. So, you know, this is in the Bible. And again, go to it and read it. But we're just doing, you know, I think what's part of God's work. And, you know, a big part of our department, you know, we're believing people, you know, Christian believing people, our guys and gals go to church and believe, and, you know, we reach out to our communities through the churches that they attend, off duty. You know, they're still talking and visiting with their church people, and I think now that, you know, we're bringing more minorities in the department, that's made a big change. You know, again, that's been a big goal of mine, is try to
change the whole culture.
Change the culture. You know, we want the department to reflect the community that we're living in, and, you know.
Is it hard recruiting minorities for the department?
Well, it is, and it has been in the past, and I think one of the biggest things that I've done to reach out is coming on the KLAK radio show once a month with the Legacy, and we talk about recruiting, and we get recruits from people listening, and so that's paid off. And then we've also reached out social media and things like that. You know, used to we just advertise in the paper and different things like that.
Yeah.
The younger generation doesn't pay attention to the newspaper, and especially the want ads and the help one or whatever. It's all social media. Yeah. So that's one of the first things I did. I brought Paul Holmes in as my public information specialist, and so we have the social media things going on. So as we do things throughout the day, he's posting on Facebook and Twitter and things like that. And again, that's to get the information out there. And if we do have an incident like that, then he's going to be on scene and he's going to be putting that stuff out there, you know, on a regular basis. So we can, you know, keep the community educated and informed of what's going on. So we understand that, and those efforts have paid off. Again, when it's got to be testing, we've had a very diverse group of applicants to come in, and we're real pleased with it. This group that we got in our academy right now, out of the 12, 6 from minority. So
50%.
It's paid off, and so we're getting there. And but you know, one of the things that we're talking about, I've had sponsors come on the radio show and talk. What's it like being a black officer, you know, working in the community? And I didn't realize until they spoke about that they weren't
the attentions they get from the community.
They weren't embraced.
Oh yeah.
They have lost friends, and you know, that you're one of them now. No, you're still you're community now. You know, just don't peg somebody because you're the police that it's that thing. So then that brings me back to, how can I recruit minorities when minority community is not embracing them being on the police department.
Yeah, and you look back to what Ms. Norm was talking about earlier, just again, that negative perception, and that's, I think it's good. I think that's good that you're thinking in that way, because it really, across the country, it is really going to take police chiefs and sheriffs being very proactive and trying as hard as they can to start to shape those perceptions, because, I mean, those are ingrained generationally perceptions.
That's right.
The reason that you and I feel differently about it is, again, generational. The fact that our parents and grandparents were treated differently by police, and, that our peers were. And so I think that's an important topic as well. We'll be back after these last messages from our sponsor. And remember that you can call in anytime you want at 870-277-1080. Again, this is Our Thoughts on the Matter on KLEK 102.5.
Our thoughts on the matter.
We're feeling different about if you get to be a police officer, have friends, and well, that's just I take taking this police.
You cause some flack.
Yeah, you say, like I said, you try to be the police. You don't. No, I'm not trying to be no police. I ain't gonna go back to that. But that's just how it's just the way people think of us.
Yeah, I mean, it's that's the part that's really disheartening. Is like, no, you're just trying to make it better. You're just trying to educate yourself better. What's the, if I came down to your church and we sat down and talked, is that a bad thing?
Is that,
just because you said talk to me at dinner or say at your church.
Well, I want to be your friend.
Look at that. I'm talking to the police. Like, what's wrong with this?
But you can't let people that you treat you that way. You just got to go on.
Well, that's that I want to reach out to.
Yeah.
Okay, you got an issue. Now let's sit down and let's talk about it. Help me, help you to get over it.
Yeah.
Now again,
Black Help Now is made possible.
let's sit down and start talking and understanding.
A nonprofit organization
Then you
dedicated
can-
to
You open up
You can fix the problem. But if you don't ever talk about your concerns, then you're always going to have that same perception. So I appreciate it. That's why I really appreciate you, because you say what you're going to want to say. And we may agree, we may disagree, but you know what? I think
We talked about it.
That's right. But I think the wrong of you, because I know that you're going to tell me what you think.
Johnson Avenue and
Whether we agree or not, it don't make a difference. But at the end of the day, after it's all said and done with, I'm going to give her a hug and we're going to walk away from it. And I'm going to look at her as somebody that, you know what, I could call you and ask you anything I need to ask you.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you.
And you're going to tell me the truth. And that's all, that's right. And that's all I'm going to do in the community is, hey, you got concerns. Now let's sit down and try to educate yourself and others. Let's work on these concerns. Again, I want to set the example where others learn from what we're doing.
I'll be honest, these last minutes, I'm going to ask you a couple questions that, they're not meant to put you in a spot of national policing and some of the things we can, again, rebuilding relationships. I'm still trying to figure out how to read this thing. I can never really tell when it's, I feel like I kind of have like a general idea.
Well, I'm saying you know what that is, not me.
I'm doing it, I'm thinking it's going to
Is there anything after 10 seconds or
I think that there's more, but I'm not, I can never tell. Like I said.
I think it's 3 more.
We're going to Yep. Yeah, that, I can never tell.
Nobody's coming.
Well, that's all right. The good thing about this, it's on website, right?
Yes.
So a lot of people, they don't get to watch it live.
You can
go back. I'll go back and look at them. And people I know, go back and watch it. So, but even from that, you're still getting, once we get the feedback, as long as we get feedback something in time,
It's not yet.
then we've done something good. So, you may not get the questions right now, but if you'll get those questions, we'll sit down later.
Yeah, I mean,
And do this
I'm I'm active in the community, so like I'll be the same way part of bringing information back, close and bridge between the two.
That's all I want to do is start building bridges and then making contacts with people in the community that's active.
Yeah, because like,
The church.
they wouldn't label me as the police, you know what I mean? They hear me.
Oh, you hang around, hang around them long enough and you might get a stigma. You one of them.
I got a little teacher in that. See?
Around the police department.
Being like the service we provide to the community.
We need to get better.
I only call.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be comfortable going to the
It is your police department. We work with this,
Thank you for their support.
it's a community thing. That's that.
So be sure to let them know.
You don't want to, well, I share it on the radio. You don't want to be scared.
And now,
There's no reason to be
You don't want to
scared.
be.
If you're doing evil,
Be scared.
be clear.
Well, back to our thoughts on the matter. With the last couple minutes, we're going to talk about some of the issues that I think have been brought up over the past 50 minutes and ask a couple of questions to Chief Elliott on how he sees some of these things. I think we've pretty clearly stumbled on the fact that there is a difference in perception of the police and policing based on what community that you come from. I think that has some pretty clear historical roots. One of the commenters on the live stream that we're streaming online asked, why are African Americans 2 to 3 times more likely to be shot? And going along with that question, we look at the 12,000 stops. I know we don't have any specific for how many were white, how many were black as compared to the city with us right now. But when the Justice Department did an investigation of the police department, we saw that stop and frisks were very disproportionately weighted towards Latino and African American citizens. And so these are the kinds of things that when you see that, I as a white individual has never been visually targeted from police, don't have a super hard time, I guess, understanding why people would feel this way. Or for example, in a country where you can walk around with a giant, which again, I'm a liberal gunner, but you can walk around with a giant gun on your hip. I can. But if Jonathan was to do the same thing, as we've seen multiple times, they've been doing experiments for months now. BuzzFeed, having a white man carrying around an AR-15, having a black man carrying around an AR-15. It's just, so would you admit that there is?
Anybody carrying around an AR-15?
Yeah, but would you say that in all fairness, there probably is some kind of an inbuilt racial bias whenever police officers are out there? Or do you think police officers are conditioned in some ways to?
They're not conditioned about race at all. They're conditioned about what they're dealing with at hand at the time of the stop. Again, it's the person's, what's going on at the stop, or what's going on the call that they go on. It doesn't matter if they're black, white, Hispanic, or whatever. If they're perceiving some kind of threat, then that's what they're keying on. It's not just a race thing. Now, I'm speaking here in Jonesboro. I can't speak for law enforcement across the country because I've seen some things here, some news things here lately that, some comments that, say different. But speaking of my department, what I'm seeing here, I'm not seeing it's, a race thing. It's what's going on at the time when officers are getting involved.
Well, so many times I also think that, again, it's the way that racial biases have evolved over time to where, maybe a police officer in the 1950s would have been like, hey, look at this black person, they're committing crime. Where he's now, and Jonathan would have to pick up on that, but there's lots of research that suggests that black men are seen as older than they actually are, that black men are viewed as more dangerous.
Or aggressive.
Aggressive. That black men's you show pictures of black and white male faces to people and ask to approximate their intentions, approximate their age. Black men are seen as older, more aggressive, and I think that's important because, again, I don't think that, I at least am not one of the people that thinks that there's a large number of officers that are actively out there like, we gotta make the jail cells more colorful today. Yeah. Although we do know that was a quote from Ferguson police officer, and so I think that most people, if there is racial bias, it's something that they're, hey, I think this person. It's just the fact that low communities are predominantly communities of color. because of generations-long policies like redlining. That's where more activity like drug activity is going to happen, because a lot of those things, like I said, addiction is a strategy of coping with. I'm not. The reason I don't do heroin isn't because it's illegal. It's just because I don't want to be addicted to heroin. You know what I mean? It's a coping strategy for certain life situations, and a coping strategy for certain life situations is selling drugs. So I think that when policing is concentrated in those areas, that's when you have this kind of an outcome where both the individuals in those communities feel targeted, and where there's a perception that police, not even consciously, but in some way, using race in their way of dealing with individuals. So in these 2 minutes, just what are your thoughts on that?
Well, okay. First, go back to stats, and I do have a stat sheet on the number of whites versus blacks that are arrested. Awesome. And since we don't have time to get into these numbers, I will tell you that every month we do statistics.
That's good.
Crime analyst, and we run stats. These are public records.
Really?
So if anybody's interested, then contact our crime analyst and get a copy of our reports. So it will tell you black, Hispanic, that we're working on tickets, warrants, things like that. The traffic stops I talk about. Anything we do in the police department, there's a stat to it, and that's public record.
Absolutely.
So that's just another way being open and transparent about business day in, day out. So that information's out there if anybody's interested in it. We can talk about that another time.
Will you tell them that the public, I think people think police have to stop so many people a month. And I learned that in the class, and this is coming from the chief.
There is no quota. A quota.
This is what people think.
Right. I'm sure there's agencies across the country that want you to write X amount of tickets and things like that. And it's not about the tickets. If there's a violation that needs to be encountered, I don't want people overlooking
You want to curb that behavior.
That's right. And again, when I took over, it's not about writing tickets. It's about just enforcing the laws. And when I tell you, we make a lot of stops, but 75% of those stops are not resulting in a ticket. Again, we're trying to curb the bad behavior, so it's not a generated thing. We do want people to enforce the laws, because we have a lot of traffic accidents. We want people to be compliant. So, we have some enforcement out there to keep people compliant. Again, to keep the number of accidents down, and again, we want the streets to be safe for Jonesboro, for everybody involved.
Well, we thank you so much for being with us, Chief Elliott, Jonathan, and Miss Norma. As always, this is our thoughts on the matter, and we'll see you next week.
Well, get that one right there. You got the last part good. If I gotta give you something for you, I gotta get your call.
Hey, thank you so much for being here, Chief. I think that was the most productive discussion.
It was a good one.
Let's do it again.
Absolutely. I'll try to party next time too, and maybe we can try to talk to Lindsay about doing a slightly longer show to where we have more time to talk about it, because the thing that is it's such a complex issue, and I didn't even really. That's my big thing, is I think the onus of this is all pushed off on chiefs and sheriffs and legislators need to be looking at.
It's everybody needs to be looking at you. That's the thing going on across. Well, legislators need to do this.
Sure, yeah.
It's this person's job. Everybody needs to take you got to take responsibility for your own actions. And people need to go back and raise your kids right.
Yeah.
Let's just go back to the home life and start fixing problems there, and that will flow over to everything else that's going on in society. If
individuals.
That's right. And again, it's changing people's heart. When you start getting bad things in the heart going on, and editorial today, Cal Thomas editorial in the opinion in the Sun today. He thought the crowd.
Really? I'll definitely look that up.
You taking it?
It was a good point.
I gave the boss one, I said I gotta give you one here. Read it. That's what
My thoughts on the matter.
he took the string off of my book.
Yeah.
Now, it's something in there about the Jonesboro Police Department, but I wrote it before I took the
Well,
police academy, but I mean, it's nothing bad, and anything, but it's just some of my experiences. So I hope you like it.
I will.
Okay, you're welcome very much.
Well, thank you so much for being here, man, and I'll reach out to you again.
Yeah, that's hard. That's what I say sometimes.
Absolutely, and that's another thing is both of us are very interested. There's so much we're going to do Assistant Police Academy, and we both really want to, do some hiring. Just kind of get to, see
Yeah,
what's
we have a fall session.
It's September, correct?
And then we'll do one in January.
We I share the woman who's over the. Yes, I got her email.
Okay.
I have to email her because I believe she said it's like 6 more spots left.
Yeah, it
fills up. I'm sure it fills up.
We could get
Yeah,
about
it's good,
32, 33,
Okay,
and the room's pretty full.
Okay.
gotcha.
So we got a training room, so it's limited on seating, and pretty much it's wall to wall, but it's a good program, and the more people that's involved in the community that we can get in the program, because you're out spreading the word, hopefully a good word, and I don't think anybody's walked away with a negative. I mean,
From the academy?
Well, I have
just they have a better understanding.
I have positive experience. Personally, I do. I'm a Black Lives Matter activist. I care about police more, but I've always had positive experience with police. I used to own a mixed martial arts gym in Cave Springs, and I let all the Cave Springs, Elm Springs police train in my gym for free. And so I've always had a decent relationship with law enforcement. The guy, they're good sparring partners. They're all, stocky and stronger than I am, so it's harder to joke them out. But no, I mean it's an interesting issue. I'm really glad you got to come be a part of it, and I think the show went really well.
Yeah, I got a band.
That's what I need too. I need to hit that on my keychain.
Yeah, would you finish the course?
I
probably really back on my front.
You always stop you at the city.
I'm official now.
Yeah.
Let's see what they do.
Well, good deal. Well, I hope you get in class.
I'm going to see y'all.
We'll be there.
If we don't get in the class,
I
I still plan on doing them ride-alongs, even if I don't get in the class.
Well, like right now, I attend the ride-along program temporarily. Everything kind of calms down.
Oh, I got you.
We've had people here making threats of shooting, killing, and all that kind of stuff. So,
Okay.
we got
I was gonna ask you,
crazy out here too.
Y'all get on standby.
Oh, I see
when
'em
something
sometimes.
actually happens here.
Like anything goes on cross country, it affects what we do.
I mean,
So,
yes.
So
Yeah. So I mean, you get an ISIS attack.
Yes.
police shootings.
We got 61
All right, I got
nationalities out here at ASU.
Mhm.
So